Okay, so one of the things I do not like doing, but my kids for some reason always are asking me these things, are the would you rather questions. So I have a few for you that I want to see what you think. So, would you rather carry a flip phone or only use a desktop computer? Would you rather spend a day without your phone or a day with no people at all? Would you rather never wear deodorant or have really bad dandruff? That one could be a hard one. Here's a weird one. Would you rather break everything you touch or get shocked every time you touch something? What do you guys think? Oh, here's another really random one. Would you rather have super strength or super hearing? I don't know. I feel like I'd want super strength because if I don't really want to hear all the craziness going on. Would you rather have a pet dragon or a pet unicorn? Now, these things are funny, but the reasons why I don't typically like them is because sometimes I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes they're so extreme that I'm like, there's no obvious answer. Or I feel like the both options are so great, I don't know which one to choose. I really don't like those kinds of options. And sometimes we actually face those sort of options, right? We face situations in our life where there may not be a natural response. There may not be a choice that feels like, well, that's obviously the answer. Or you may feel like you get stuck in a place where you know that whatever you choose, there's a consequence that's bad. Think about that. Think about in your life. Have you ever been in a situation, maybe with your parents, where you knew if you told them about something that was going on, you told them about something that you did or something that someone else was doing, they'd be like, dude, your phone's taken away. Like, you lost the privilege. And you're like, oh, I know I need to say this, but at the same time, I know I'm going to have to endure a consequence. Or maybe there's something with a friend. Maybe your friend is doing something where you're like, what you're doing is not okay, but you're afraid to say something, thinking, will they stop being my friend? Will they chew me out? Will they start calling me out, right? So we all go through these sort of scenarios where sometimes we just don't know what to do. And that's kind of what this whole series is about, is what do you do when you don't know what to do? And so tonight we're going to jump back into the story of Joseph. Joseph was this kid. Remember how he was born into a family with 11 other brothers. He was the favorite son because he was born to Jacob's favorite wife, the one he really, really loved. There were 4 different moms who birthed all these children. And so there was a lot of tensions. And the brothers did not like Joseph. They were jealous of him being favored. And then he started having these dreams that one day they would bow down and worship him. So what do? They decide to get rid of him. And they were going to kill him. Luckily, one of them had a good conscience. And so they said, how about let's just pretend like he gets killed. Like, we'll just fake it. But then they end up selling him to slave traders who take him off to Egypt. And then they tell their dad he's been killed. They take this coat that his dad had given him, which was significant because it showed how much everyone else was jealous of him, because that was the favorite coat, the coat that only the dad gave to Joseph. They dipped it in blood and said, Dad, look, he's been killed by a wild animal. So that's where Joseph has been let off. But things aren't so bad for Joseph. As we continue reading in the book of Genesis, we see that things start to get better. So let me read some of those things that are going on. This is in Genesis chapter 39, verses 2 through 6. It says, the Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and all of that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. So things are going well for Joseph. He actually gets sold to be a servant in the house of Potiphar. He would have been some sort of royal authority for the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh was kind of like the king of Egypt at that time. And then what's cool is God had favor with him. God was with him, just like we heard last week. God was with him and blessed him. And because of that, he was granted the ability to serve, and people now in his home loved him, took care, wanted him, trusted him, right? He was kind of like, things were looking better for him. He had a job, he was taken care of, right? So things were looking good. But then things start to get a little weird. As we continue reading, it says, "Now Joseph was well built and handsome. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, 'Come to bed with me.'" Now, this is a challenging situation for Joseph. His master's wife is now saying, "Hey, come sleep with me. I love you." He's like looking so cool. She's attracted to him. But what is he supposed to do? Even if he wanted to do that, he could get in serious trouble and cause problems with his master, right? Potiphar. But at the same time, Potiphar has trusted him with everything. He doesn't want to do that. And he doesn't want to hurt him. He doesn't want to take away that trust. But at the same time, he's a servant. And the wife of Potiphar is also his master. And he knows that she could cause a lot of trouble for him. He's supposed to really obey her as well. So he's stuck in this would you rather situation. What do you do situation? I don't know what to do. There doesn't seem to be a right solution here. Do I obey her and sleep with her? But then this trust from, I'm literally being a jerk to my master. Or do I stop her? What do I run away? What do I do? So let's look at what does Joseph do so that we can maybe get an idea of how do we handle situations when we don't know what to do. And this is what it says. "But Joseph, he refused. With me in charge, he told her, 'My master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?' And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her." Now, in this scenario, Joseph didn't know exactly what to do, right? This was a challenging situation. The right thing didn't feel exactly obvious because there were consequences that he was going to face. Something was going to cost him. It had to cost him. It was going to cost somebody, right? And so he told her, I can't do that, right? He didn't know exactly what to do. He didn't know exactly what was the best situation because both sides were going to be a problem. It was complicated. It was challenging. But what does Joseph do? He does the next best thing. And I think that's a huge point that we can take away from this, is that when you don't know what to do, just do the next best thing. We can't always control the situation that we're in. We can't always control the repercussions, the consequences, how it's actually the outcome that's gonna come from our choices. But what we can control is we can control the person that we want to be. And what Joseph did is he did what he thought was the best thing in the eyes of God. Joseph did what was right with God, and he trusted God with the outcome. He didn't know how else to handle the situation. He knew that something bad was going to happen to him because of it. If he didn't listen to her, if he pushed her away, she could do something to him. And that's exactly what happens. She actually claims that he tries to rape her. And she goes and tells her husband Potiphar, "Oh, he tried to rape me," because she's mad. She's trying to show revenge. And what happens? Potiphar believes her and throws Joseph in jail. And we're going to continue to see what happens. But tonight, let's just focus on when we don't know what to do, we should just focus on doing the next right thing, the next best thing. And we get to choose who we want to be. There's that word integrity. We get to choose what kind of person we want to be. Do we want to be a person who is integrous, who is the kind of person who does what's right regardless of the outcome, regardless of who is around watching and paying attention to us? And so tonight, I want you to think about, for you, what's a situation that you may be in? Maybe you're like, I'm not really in a situation now. Maybe think of something in the past. What's a situation that you've been in when you know the right thing to do, but maybe you're afraid to do it? Maybe you know what to do, but you're struggling with it. What are you afraid of? What's the fear factor for you? How do you get through that? Determine what kind of person you want to be. That's the second part. Determine what kind of person you want to be. When you're in a situation when you don't know what to do or you're afraid to do the right thing, you have a choice. What kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be a person who's integrous? Do you want to be a person who is going to try to do the right thing regardless of who's going to applaud you? Sometimes it's going to look easy. Sometimes it's going to feel easy. Sometimes, you guys, it's not. And that's just the hard part. And believe me, the cool thing about all of this is sometimes we're going to make the bad choice. And I think that's something that we have to remember is sometimes we're going to mess up. Sometimes we're going to choose to go the easy route. And when that happens, I want to encourage you, don't sit in the shame of that. Don't overwhelm yourself with, oh, I suck. I'm just so awful. Why did I do that? Right? Because I think Jesus, remember, he died on the cross for us so that we could live a life to the fullest. He died to take away our sin. And that even means our dumb, bad choices. So when that happens, he didn't die so that we could feel guilty, that we should feel guilty. He wants to even take that from us. And so in this time, as we're like thinking about what do we do when we don't know what to do, as we're struggling with some of those questions, just think about, what do you do when you don't know what to do? You do the next best thing. Think about what's holding you back from doing the next best thing. Think about that. Choose who you want to be. And then this is what I would kind of encourage you to help you with that. Tell somebody the next best thing for you tonight in your small groups. I think you guys should talk about it. What's something going on that you need help with? And then talk about what is the situation and talk about what is the next best thing. And then tell somebody about that. Invite them to pray for you to have the courage to do it. I actually think that's one of the biggest things is that we want to have a group here where we can talk to each other and encourage each other about what's going on in our lives. And we can help each other. Remind each other of who we want to be, of who God is calling us to be. He is the one who can give us the courage to stand up when it's not easy. But he is also the God who is still there when we mess up. So tonight, let me just encourage you. I want to encourage you in your small groups. Talk to each other. Encourage each other. Let me just pray for you guys as we head into small groups. God, I just pray that you would just help us in these conversations that we're having. I pray that you would help us to open us up to just being in community with one another. Help us just to be honest about what's going on in our lives and to be honest with ourselves about what's holding us back from doing the right thing. And God, I just pray that we can be a community that loves each other, that encourages each other, that when we mess up, that we feel safe to come and talk to you, to talk with each other about what to do, and that we can look to each other, maybe even for advice when we're struggling to know what to do, that we can turn to them. Turn to our friends here, God. And God, I pray specifically that you would just be with us in this season. Help us just to turn to you, God. Whatever we have going on in our lives, whatever we're struggling with, God, help us to be a people who live with integrity and to invite people to come alongside of us when we really just don't know what to do. Or maybe we just need someone to help us. So be with us tonight in your name. Amen. All right, you guys.